Right. Welcome, everyone. This is the Wedding Industry Online Summit 3.0. We are doing this with our wedding professionals from Lucknow and Kanpur. Welcome to all the panelists here and the participants. So today we'll be talking about the impact of COVID-19 that has hit us, as a global pandemic, and what are the changes that we are going to be seeing in the wedding industry. So I'm going to start with having Ankur Saraugi from WeddingWire India. He's the country manager to throw some light upon what are we hearing from all the couples around the world, and what are they thinking? What are the findings that we've seen?
Thank you, Sohaila. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ankur. I am country manager at WeddingWire India. We are part of the world's largest wedding technology company, the not worldwide. And we have market-leading positions in countries, 15 countries, including the US, UK, Canada, Spain, Italy, and Latin America. And we have been in India for last 3 years, and we continue to strengthen our position in the Indian market. Now, with respect to COVID, we have done a lot of research amongst couples, family members, and wedding professionals, venue owners across the world. And what we are hearing is a common theme. Weddings are not getting cancelled. There is a shift in demand. So our industry, unlike like an airline industry or say holiday hospitality industry, is not going to be a loss in demand. We're mostly seeing a shift in demand. There is definitely an immediate cash flow issue with most of the operators in the wedding industry, but as countries move out of lockdown, we expect this thing to ease out. So I just like to highlight, our survey results that, we did amongst couples in India, who were supposed to get married during the lockdown period, and you know, you know, whenever there is some restriction. And I'll just share some of the insights. So 80% are planning to do their wedding or shift their date. Most of them are planning to shift it in October, November, December, in the second half of the year. Only 3% of them are planning to shift it, later in 2021. What we also know is the wedding planning window, which is like the engagement slash broker to the wedding date window in India is slightly smaller compared to rest of the world, where it is 12 to 14 months. In India, it is like 3 to 6 months. So mostly, what people would not want to shift their weddings far ahead, in time. So a lot of weddings that was happening during the lockdown window is going to shift, in the October, November, December. Remaining 20%, are doing a small wedding legally, at home or court or temples. And two-thirds of them are planning to do a bigger wedding event again to celebrate it with family when things are normal. Now, an interesting insight here, for businesses is this event which will happen in future, it will not be like on, hot dates or side dates. This is like a reception ceremony that most of your couples are going to organize. So there is going to be a lot of demand in non-peak dates in October, November, December. 90% of survey respondents have maintained that they are not going to change their budget. And this is again what we heard, and 75% of them are saying they are going to keep the same guest list. So a lot of things might change if there are certain restrictions in guest sizes. Maybe different people are invited in different events. We also see there is a possibility that people might be invited in shifts, but we still believe, what we heard from the consumers is that it's very hard to change the guest list that, they initially designed. We see a tremendous opportunity for technology to help customers and wedding professionals in enabling wedding businesses. There is a huge surge in adoption of digital platform across key decision makers, be it parents, be it brides, all of them are consuming more and more digital content. We also see a lot of wedding professionals, wedding industry, our friends there are upskilling themselves and investing a lot, and creating a stronger digital presence with a lot of new content, customer reviews, and trying to set them ourselves for the new world post-COVID. So yeah, this is what we are hearing, and this is what is happening in India.
Okay. So with the October, November, December being talked about as the hot season, even otherwise, not just around where the weddings are actually getting shipped to OND, but otherwise also in India, it's one of the hottest seasons. So how are, all the professionals going to plan this when there are only around 3-4 months to actually organize all kinds of weddings? I would want to put this question across to Mr. Oberoi. What do you feel that it is going to be like, and how will the wedding professionals be tackling this?
Well, first, thank you so much for having me over. And I would like to first introduce Landmark Hotel, based out of Kanpur and proudly standing as the only 5-star property in Kanpur past 35 years. And with our associate business entities of Status Hospitality Group, we contribute to almost 50% plus share in terms of weddings which take place in Kanpur. As a very organized sector, again, because being a hotel, we are equipped totally to handle any such situations or the pressures that may come in with this. But what you are saying is that the shift which may happen and how quickly we can address to it is all about the preparedness. And we are preparing ourselves even now in whatever little way, because it's under lockdown, so we can't really do as much. But we are trying to put in the ideas, the SOPs, the protocols, the purchases which are required in terms of the technological upgradations, and trying to put in, all the possible infrastructural developments which may be needed in the future. So all that is taking place so far. And I do not see that it would be a big challenge, because I see a shift in the perspective of people. The customer who was keen only about specific muhurats and specific dates for weddings, there would be a slight shift on that too. So we can even assume and rather hope that even if the government allows us to start operating from July, we would be open to serve the guests, and we are preparing accordingly.
Okay, that's great. So I would even want Joyji to jump in here and tell us what kind of SOPs are being defined to tackle the impact of COVID-19 on wedding.
First, let me say thank you to WeddingWire to organize this kind of webinar, and I hope all the attendees who are here are safe and doing good. Now, coming back to the preparedness for our hotel, well, Hilton Worldwide has rolled out something called Hilton Clean Stay, which is being worked upon with Dettol and Lysol, which is, developed a holistic cleanliness and disinfection program. And also we are working very, very closely with our chemical partners, that is Johnson Diversey, for disinfection of anything and everything of the entire hotel. For us, it's very simple. For us, we are very much putting in exact amount of efforts for staff, as well as much what we are putting for our customers. Which includes we have procured a pulse check scanner. We have ULV machines for fogging. We have PPE kits, masks, hands-free sanitizer stations. So for every aspect, every location of the hotel, we are keeping a close watch. We have developed SOPs, and like my colleague from Landmark, we are also currently procuring and practicing making up SOPs. Of course, most of our SOPs are international driven, and we just need to locally make them. But yes, absolutely. I mean, we are the only hotel in the entire Lucknow who has a keyless digital check-in. So you don't even need to touch this. So you can just have your keys in your mobile. You can go up to your floors and you can open your flows. So that is the way we are preparing ourselves. We have identified as a company around 10 to 12 touch points in the entire hotel, and we are trying to make them as much, touch-free, which is possible. Usually what happens is in a guest, in the banquet halls and all, the toilets and all are, it doesn't have, when was the last time it was sanitized? So from now on, what we're going to do, we're going to put tags in public restrooms and every places. When was the last time this place has been sanitized? So the customers can also feel safe. They can see, and have a first-hand experience that they have come to an international brand, which is definitely and equally concerned to give safety and hygiene to our customers and staff. So that is the way of preparedness we have started doing.
That's great to hear. Moving on to the decor part, which is also very necessary in Indian weddings. Shruti, what do you see that in terms of the impact on decor due to complexity in logistics and social distancing that has become a norm now?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So thank you, WeddingWire, for having me over. So impact on decor, I think, is there is an impact. It's really shrunk the fat Indian wedding, but we are still going to have the mandap area, which is going to be decorated well. So I think it's going to be like, pockets of decor vis-a-vis, the whole elaborate things that we used to do earlier. So it's just shrunk, but the pockets are going to be there still.
Okay. And, a lot of couples are now moving towards day weddings and having an outdoor setup in terms of decor. So any thoughts around that?
I think now intimate weddings, it's like the in thing. And people will definitely get married on their terraces, lawns, angan, like, how it used to happen earlier. But the decor, I'm just giving you an example. So around 25, 30 years back, the weddings were normal without decor, if we go back in time. So that time, the only emphasis was khana, that's it. But now when I meet those couples, because I also do anniversaries, so those people really regret not having decor, and that's why the anniversaries, the 25th anniversaries, the 50th anniversaries that I do are very lavish, because, they miss that. So definitely it's like the budgets are less. But on the hindsight, there's another thing. It's since there are less people, so you can spend on decor. The decor can be classy, elegant, because there is as of now, there is like a upper limit to how much you can spend. On the number of people. So if there is an upper limit there, so you have this budget for decor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so even getting to logistics, venue also have a lot of logistics that they need to take care of. What in terms of SOPs that have been defined, and how is it that the all kinds of precautions will be taken for venues? Sanjeev, would you be willing to share some thoughts on that?
Definitely, Sohaila, I would love to do that. Now, see, talking from the hotelier's perspective, talking from our perspective, our concentrations on or focus do not just lie on the venues per se or the events. Because when we are booking a wedding, we are also booking rooms. We are also taking care of the breakfast. We are also taking care of the other meals which are being, requested by the host. So likewise, I would not just talk about the protocols that we would have to follow vis-a-vis the wedding function per se or the venue or the event, but I would like to, broadly tell you about everything that we would be looking at in terms of the wedding. Now, having said that, I feel that now the hotels would have to actually even work as an event manager. Uh, in the past, the guests used to have their own arrangements of transport. Let's say, for example, maybe a bus coming in or coming in by the cabs on their own. Today, their concern, and rather our concern, would be not to encourage that happening, because we would want the guests to be totally, completely be safe. So if we are able to organize that transport for them, the advantage that we give the guest and the advantage that we have is that all of them do not throng or crowd the front office area at a time, which usually is the case, you must have seen. And we are able to synchronize their check-in very well, have them, deboarded the bus one by one, get them to the counter, have everything cleared, and then escort them to the room. So this is one part which I am envisaging, because I don't really want to go into the nitty-gritties that this is where the sanitizers are placed, this is where the ULVs are going to be, this is where, other protocols are being followed, because this is something which I think over these many webinars that all of us have attended, I think we are very clear about it. So I wouldn't really want to go into what all we are doing about it. Yes, of course, as a five-star property, we have to make sure that we live up to our standards. So all those things are very well being organized and in place. But yes, when I talk of the wider spectrum, this is what I'm trying to say, that for us, the management of the wedding now shall be on a wider scale. So where we would want our guests to come to us, absolutely open-minded, and we are able to organize a package right from the transport part to everything else. Not talking about the food or the lunches or the breakfast. There also, this particular thing is very important. Otherwise, earlier it used to be like you have 50 rooms, 100 guests in a wedding party. Fine, the meal is laid, come to the breakfast hall, come to the restaurant, have it and done. But not anymore. We will have to actually make their fooding in a staggered manner. The timings have to be staggered. We have to organize all that. Same is for any other lunch or anything that they are having in-house. So that all is going to be another, addition, which I look at from my perspective. And as far as the, event arena is concerned, now event arena, again, like we have been in the business past so many years, 35 years, as I said, we are absolutely equipped. We are totally equipped to handle any level of banquets or functions. Everything is in-house. We don't outsource literally anything from outside. So our concerns for safeties are very much addressed and very much handled, because everything being in-house with us, we know how to keep them sanitized. We know how to keep them safe. Same kind of protocols we will be following with our teams, how they are supposed to, sanitize the arena, pre-function, post-function, before the food being laid out, after the food being laid out. All those things have already been very well defined by our SOPs as of now. And likewise, like I said, how the toilets are going to be handled, how the common areas are going to be handled. These are things which I think we all are pretty abreast with as of now. My idea of telling this to you was that now the couples or the host needs to look not to a hotel as a venue per se. We are supposed to be looked at as a event partner altogether, wherein lot many other things will have to be added. For example, in most of the weddings, you see the guests would just come at the last moment carrying boxes of their sweets or other gifts and puja items. Now, for us, it is definitely a challenge to allow something like that happening at the last moment, because we cannot address the issue of safety there. So the guest also would need to have that, planning or that discipline being brought in, that everything has to be pre-planned. And this is where we would play our role to guide them, to help them, assist them, that, okay, fine, you are supposed to get all these things in the venue. Please organize it at least 6 to 8 hours in advance so that we can do our protocols to sanitize the things, to give them a cooling period, some kind of an isolation, whatever. So these are the things which we are now looking at in terms of offering our product.
Okay, that's great. So we definitely spoke about food and catering here. Meenakshi, I would want you to share some of your thoughts here. What kind of catering will now be that we'll be seeing in weddings? So how buffet was something that was done in all kinds of weddings, be it like a 100 people wedding or a 5,000 people wedding. What kind of a trend do you see now happening?
Yes, thank you so much for welcoming me. Thank you. Are you hearing me properly? Yes, this is another very important part of our site to cater food, how to cater food to our client, how to serving or how to do buffet style. So nowadays, now I'm thinking that I need to create some more things. First, I redesigned the menu, which is not very extensive menu as it was before. Now I have to design menu like very sophisticated in a way. And secondly, it should be I can say we can start from an Asian time. We have seen the thali system, like thali system होते थे पहले. एंड इसके अलावा मिस्टर ओबेराय मुझसे शायद ज्यादा सहमत होंगे कि प्री प्लेटिंग भी हम कर सकते हैं फूड की, लाइक कॉन्टिनेंटल फूड हो, इटालियन फूड हो. थोड़ी मैन पावर चाहिए होगी किचन में, वो हम कर ले जाएंगे. लेकिन प्री प्लेटिंग से होगा कि जो बुफे, ट्रेडिशनल बुफे में जो क्राउड होता है वो हम अवॉइड करेंगे सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग को देखते हुए. सो देयर इज मेनी वेज like pre-plating food, like thali system, Indian traditional thali system, or we can have a suggestive buffet style, like we set up a small setup of buffet there in venue, and we can do with our help of our staff teammates to take our orders from our clients and they will serve separately.
Okay, so I think that's definitely something that we all...
just to add this, I would want to share with the group, something that we have seen in the Western world, which is very interesting. So, unlike India, because the number of guests in our weddings have traditionally been upwards of 250 to 500 and maybe even more. And, buffet is the only way of actually servicing a lot of customers. Now, as we move to a table kind of arrangement, one interesting aspect of planning in the Western world is how do you make the seating arrangement, because there is not a lot of people who want to sit in front of each other. Like there are people who would want to eat with a certain group. So how do you place people in a group of 7 becomes like a very important part of the planning for the couple and the family member. Ki kaun kiske saath baithega, because you don't know what anything can happen during a wedding. So it's not like you take up your plate and you can go and sit everywhere. Even what Mr. Oberoi mentioned, that all of these things need to be planned, and if there are more guests, they should be asked to come in a certain window, because you cannot service everyone together. So who are friends, and that becomes also an interesting part of planning the entire journey, for a better guest experience, because finally the family wants a very exceptional guest experience during the wedding. So these small pieces of detailing becomes really, really important. So we also have, fortunately, a technology tool on our platform. We are not using it in India, but if this becomes a reality, we might launch that, where we can just marry the guest list into who sits with whom at what time. So yeah, just want to add that.
Yeah, that definitely sounds interesting, Ankur. So far, what we have thought of is that since number of guests now would be lessened, so we are going to be requesting our customers, our clients to give us a list, probably prepare themselves and tell us where they would prefer a group to sit. So now the tables are going to be lessened in terms of the seating. So we are going to be placing the name tags on the tables. This is how we are looking at the banqueting. As you rightly said, we are going to westernize ourselves in weddings now. There are a lot of things definitely we have changed, but when it comes to the food part, shall I say, the weddings still go a little haywire somewhere or the other. So that is something which we definitely need to address in a very diligent manner. And I'm sure that this helps the guest also to feel more comfortable. Very rightly said indeed. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to Mrinal, what do you feel in terms of photography? How, you guys, every photographer would have a team of, around 10, 12 people covering the entire wedding. How would that be tackled when, there are norms in place where only a certain number of people are allowed at the venue?
Right. Thank you, WeddingWire, for having me. I'm glad I'm getting this opportunity to speak and give my thoughts over this. So, Mrinal Khatnani Photos and Films was formed back in 2015 with 3 members. And from the very beginning, we aimed at getting skills. So, with our handpicked team, we are very well trained to optimize. So, even before the pandemic, we used to allocate a team according to the scale of event requirement of clients and without compromising on the quality because, we have worked really hard for where we are today. And I assume experienced professional photographers know the job and they can do it by them uh, and give the best results at the best situations. Also, I would like to add that now the weddings are going to be so intimate, right? So we as photographers will be pretty happy that we'll get that extra time for couple portraits. So earlier we used to get 10 to 15 minutes on a large scale wedding, and now we can even get 30 to 40 minutes. And according to that, we can deliver, far better results uh, in terms of creative couple portraits. And I'll leave the judgment on team allocation on the team lead, whosoever is working on that client. But roughly, according to me, with a gathering of around 30 to 40 people, a team of 3 is good enough.
Okay. And what sort of alternates are we seeing, because a lot of pre-wedding shoots will not happen in international locations. Where do you see that going?
India is a land of opportunity. And I know the idea of getting, pre-wedding shoots getting done at exotic international locations. But we have plenty of options in India itself, right? So from heritage sites to scenic locations, we have it all. And as Modi ji has urged us to stay Atmanirbhar, there are a couple of cities like Bombay, Jaipur, Agra, Banaras, and Kerala is pretty good. So as a traveler, I'm fortunate enough to travel these underrated and unexplored places like Lahore, Spiti Valley, Hampi, outskirts of Leh and Ladakh, Andaman, which I believe that they have a lot more better to offer in terms of aesthetics. Having said that, we have a very intimate approach towards pre-wedding photography and films. So our company believes in capturing timeless memories, and for the fact they can be captured anywhere, right? So as an experienced photographer, locations don't play a major role when it comes to creativity and storytelling.
That's great. So I would say, taking a cue from there, I would want Jyotsna to share with us how crucial this term going local has become now.
Yeah, thanks so much, WeddingWire. Great to be here with you. So I think one thing that has become key now is how we can support our local artisans, particularly local women. And I think if people can look at the gifting that they can do for weddings, even the decor, how much of it can be made locally and it can be sustainable and reusable. Things so that's very important for, Shruti and for you at the hotels to also look at whether you can actually hire people locally to perform also, whether it's the musical programs and so on. And other very interesting things that people can actually celebrate their wedding by doing is, for example, there are very interesting organizations like Grow Trees here in India, which actually plants trees in the name of people. So a lot of people have been doing that for weddings and birthdays for a long time. I think it's a great way to get people to attend your wedding, to plant a tree in your name, or 10 or hundreds of trees. And of course, tying up with handloom and handicraft, picking sustainable products to wear and use. So I think, there's so much more that can be done now if you're more conscious about it.
Definitely. And what is the way forward that we're going to see in terms of buying in retail? So how people could, go for window shopping, go on to like multiple trips to, different kind of stores to get their wedding trousseau or pick up jewelry. How is that going to change now?
Well, I think digitally anyway, most things are available online. For example, the organization that we are working with in our village, Sadanpur, we're working with the Digital Empowerment Foundation, which is in 26 states all over India, working with handloom and handicraft. So all the products are already online. So it would be great if WeddingWire can also provide a platform, not just for the large retailers, but for linking artisans, linking, these rural products, and people can actually connect in the area wherever they are to get things locally and use them. And use your local fruit, get things locally from your farmers. So support your local economies as well as, you don't need to have fruit from Thailand and flowers from, all over the world. We can actually help our local economy.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. Moving on to makeup, which is also a very, very integral part of a wedding for a bride. What kind of a trend are we going to be seeing now? If I can have Bhavya to throw some light on it. So we have Bhavya Kapoor from Lucknow, who's a makeup artist. Bhavya, please tell me if you can hear me.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think my industry is probably the only industry that requires a very close proximity with the client, which is sort of scary because, the kind of services that we have to provide, we cannot provide them online, or we cannot just send it. The client has to come to us. We have to touch the client, and we have to be together. So I think when it comes to the sanitization part and the whole COVID-19 process, we guys are the most affected because, for the simplest and smallest of things, people are like, oh, have you done this? Have you done that? We want to see how you're working. So the parlor industry, the salon industry is going to be very, very affected because even the client is very scared right now. Nobody is just walking in for a facial, and nobody is just walking in for a manicure or pedicure. They are like, it's better to wait it out, which is in turn for us a very difficult situation. And when it comes to makeup, I think, of course, a bride cannot do without makeup on her wedding day. We all know that. The bride has to get makeup done. But then because the sizes of the weddings is going to be so small, because the invitees are going to be so less, probably the functions are going to be cut down, where one bride used to have 4, 5, 6 functions also. I think it's going to be just probably 2 intimate functions for a bride, which in turn does affect our business as well. So I think we have to think of new ways to diversify for makeup artists, for people who own salons. A lot of people I know have started sending their staff to the client's house, which again is not very safe because you are putting a staff at risk. But it seems to be working for some clients. Then we have a lot of brides who have cancelled a couple of functions. If they had 3 bookings with us, they've cancelled 2 and they just have 1 booking now for their main day because they probably realize that they don't need makeup on days when they don't have too many people or when they don't have a big function. So yes, it is affecting us, obviously, and we are sort of in a fix because our work is incomplete without touching the client, actually. And in today's day and age, when we are not even shaking hands, to actually touch a client and do something for the client is, it's another ball game altogether. We have to there is a whole checklist that we have. There is, I don't know, probably 15, 20 things that we have to see before even letting one client in. So yesterday we were functional, we were open. Yesterday we got a lot of calls, but people did not walk in still. There was still this, you could see that people were very hesitant to walk into the studio. They were calling, they were asking us if we were providing services. They were calling us for the wedding makeups, but nobody actually came to the studio. We were all alone in the studio yesterday. So it was kind of difficult to accept for us because this used to be a very normal thing that the studios open and the clients are walking in for inquiries and their services, and even small things like eyebrows. I mean, all the girls would know it doesn't take much to just go and get your eyebrows done. But shockingly, we don't have anybody just walking in now. And even the people who really want to come are making sure by calling us again and again that, are you sure it's okay to come? Are you sure that there are no cases in that area because we are coming from another area? So it's definitely very difficult for us to imagine what the new normal in the salon industry is going to be, because like I said, we can't really operate on the digital platform. We have to meet the client face to face. But I guess just reducing the number of people at a time is the best way to start with. I know from myself, I can talk that we used to have 30 brides in a day, getting ready all over the studio, somebody getting her hair done, somebody getting her makeup done, some bride getting her nails done. But I guess that is not going to be the new normal now. We have to really plan when it comes to these numbers, because we have to maintain social distance, we have to maintain the hygiene factor. So probably now we'll have to reduce it to at least 2/3. All the salons, I think, will have to reduce their capacity. Our salon chairs are also very closely placed, if you have noticed. So I think that is going to be a problem for a lot of people. They're going to always tell us to move the client from the one who's sitting next to them, to move him away. So we're just trying to get our heads around it. And since yesterday was the first functional day, let's see what the rest of the days have in stock for us. But yes, we are definitely not expecting the numbers like they were pre-COVID. The numbers have definitely gone down. It's only the essential, the people for whom it's essential to come to a salon. It's only those people who are calling us and coming to us. It's not, people are not coming to us for relaxation or just to have fun or just for a day off. They're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, but then appointments are definitely going to become very, very important now. Everyone would want to get in touch.
Yeah. Accepting any walk-ins. We cannot, we don't know who's coming from where. And so it's totally on appointment basis. And we can't sort of entertain walk-ins because we don't have that kind of capacity. When it comes to staff also, where we had extra people just roaming around, serving coffee, just doing the hair, doing threading, one extra girl for foot massage. We have to really cut down on those people. So we have only the essential staff now. We've cut down our staff by 1/3. As in not throwing them out, but just, not calling them to the studio, because we realize that for social distancing, we need to have less people. And in a small salon where we already had 20 people inside, even if 10 people were to come from outside, it would become surely a very crowded place. So
Definitely.
Yes, we cut down on staff, and we cut down on the front desk also, because since we are expecting lesser people, lesser calls, we figured that it will be better to just function with one person on the front desk and not two. So yes, That's what we're doing right now.
Great. So interestingly, I also have this one more question where we are seeing a big trend in terms of mask being mandatory. Whenever we're getting out of the house, getting groceries done. So what do you feel if masks actually become mandatory, even, having to wear them during weddings? How will makeup change?
Really funny for us, because yesterday there was a client for a haircut and we had to tell her to take off her mask, because when you wear the mask behind your ears, nobody can comb your hair and sort of straighten it. There shouldn't be anything here, right? And then when I put up a story on Instagram that we are open, I got I don't know how many messages that your client is not wearing a mask. But I don't know how to tell people that in our business, mask is really a hindrance, because how are you going to do makeup? Even after doing makeup, if a bride is to wear a mask, it is definitely going to leave lines. There is no makeup artist in the world who can say ki mera makeup ekdam waterproof hai or ekdam sweatproof hai or ekdam koi line nahi aayegi. That's not possible. So if the brides were to wear masks, we'll probably see a patch on their faces after they take it off. They will take it off sometime. So it's really not going to be advisable from someone like me. But yes, we have to sort of go around it. So probably, we can have lighter masks with not very tight over here, which leave lines on the face. I don't know. I'm yet to figure out. We're all in the stage of figuring out. But in our field, really, a mask is a big hindrance. For our staff, yes, because we're not doing it, they're not doing it on their faces. But for the client to have a mask on while we are working on their face is kind of really stupid, because nobody can do makeup like that. A makeup artist can definitely not do makeup for a client with a mask on. So we'll probably have to think of something else. I don't know, probably sanitize the space between your faces every now and then. But apart from that, wearing a mask inside the salon is going to be a big problem, especially when it comes to makeup. Yes, when you're getting a pedicure, when you're getting a manicure, it's fine, you can sit with a mask on. But when it comes to your hair and your face, it's definitely a big hindrance. Let's see how we go about it, and let's see how the clients go about it, because I'm sure once we do good makeup on a bride, she herself will not want to put on a tight mask. So we'll probably find a way around it and update it on our page later. But right now, I don't think I would advise my brides to wear masks, because really my idea is that the makeup shouldn't go bad, right? So as bad as it sounds, at least in the salons, for the brides, we can't have those N95 masks and that. But yes, there are other ways. We can keep sanitizing the hands, we can keep sanitizing the workspaces, we can keep fogging the entire area for the bride to be more comfortable. And once the bride's work is done, when she walks out, then she's free to wear whatever she wants. Our job is done, but we only hope that the makeup stays and doesn't get spoiled.
Okay, great. So these are great insights that we've gotten. I would now like to take some questions from the participants that we've gotten now. So Nikhil says here that can we discuss on how one can increase revenue per event given the limited size of people that can be gathered in a event space. Joyjeet, would you want to throw some light on this?
The wedding industry is going to have two kinds of impact. One is definitely a short-term impact, and the other one is a long-term impact. Short-term, obviously, people are scared, the confidence needs to come up. The economy has been impacted for all of us. The government directive of 50 people, etc. So definitely, I can very bluntly probably say that the fat Indian wedding has surely gone for a diet. But on a long run, I for sure look at light at the end of the tunnel. And even during this time also, what information I gather is, our Indian weddings are always of experiences and relationships. So there is a high possibility that, you can have more events. You can have, I would not call it a ceremony. Probably this word called mini-monies have come up. So, you will have, smaller gatherings. So one can be with your friends, one can be with your relatives, one can be of your this. So there is a great opportunity to, have more events. So that's number one. Number two, as terms of hotels are concerned, well, obviously government has have a directive of 50 people. So and with social distancing in mind, obviously you will need bigger spaces. So obviously, there can be a element of hall rentals be included into it, and we are also coming up with a concept in terms of Hilton. One of the panelists was saying about, people have started getting weddings in their own houses, in their own angans. So, we are open to go to the client and, also operate with the 30 and 40 people. If we can deliver packed foods, or we can set up a little catering kind of stuff in their own houses, so they're very comfortable, and the scare or the apprehensions what they have, they can always go down. And we practice all the hygienic ways of making the food, HACCP certified, FSSI certified, and everything. And also, I definitely see opportunities wherein we can to enhance revenues or find a way to make money, because whatever said and done, weddings are never going to end. And weddings are never going to go, this for sure. It's going to remain. People are going to get married. So I don't see there's any hindrances coming there at a longer run.
I think that's a great, note to share, and something that is Very positive to hear as well. Thank you, Joyjeet, for that. Now, Sugam says that can we also discuss the impact of it on wedding invitations? So I would want Ankur to throw some light on it and share his thoughts with us.
So yeah, so I think invitations, at least the recent trend has been a lot of invites have become, a mix of digital. I think what is going to happen is a lot of digitization of invitation will happen with RSVPs, coming digitally, as well as like people are like, we have seen it on our platform, like, hashtags is really, really popular. So people might just go ahead and create their own wedding websites. Those things will continue. But however, I still believe like, invites have been like a great way of, giving gifts, favors to the guests, and a lot of personalization used to happen. So in the short term, people might use courier services to actually send physical invites, the invites done on, by going in person and inviting everyone might just change to a lot of digitization as well as like, courier services plus a phone call. So yeah, that seems to be like the reality. You think of it like, if you have to invite someone from any other city, how would you do that? I think that might just come to the local market as well.
Great. Yes, definitely. So now Daksha says that I guess we all need to live with this. The entire format of hospitality industry has changed. And of course, the new SOPs have been defined. So keeping all of this in mind, any timeline that we have in place to see until when small weddings will be happening? So would Mr. Oberoi or even Meenakshi would want to, share their thoughts on this?
We are finding.
Or, shall I continue?
Okay.
Please. Meenakshi, you can carry on. I can join in later, no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Oberoi. Yeah, I would like to tell you we are finding more innovative way to stay afloat during COVID-19. Or we are planning like food style planning. Like I have already told you कि हम थाली system कर सकते हैं, ये कर सकते हैं और small size में हम mini meals plan कर सकते हैं. तो ये एक तरीके हैं जिन पे हम कंसिडर करके और इनको हम फुलफिल कर सकते हैं अपने क्लाइंट को, ताकि हम सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग को भी कम करें और दूसरी चीजों को भी हम देख सकें, ताकि क्लाइंट पूरे तरह सेटिस्फाइड हो.
Thank you. Well, very rightly put up. The thing is that as we all are assuming and rather predicting that this trend is going to continue for some more time, and at least till February 2021, as Joyjeet had put up, I feel that this will definitely continue because the situation is so hazy and so unclear, and safety has become the priority for every human being today. Likewise, this trend would continue for our industry, and the options that we can create are to open up more arenas, to be able to provide those places to have more functions probably happening in one time, which again depends on how the government is going to lay out its directions for the industry. And we've already heard that the catering now goes into the angans of the households. And from our side, we are also looking at those options. We are looking at pre-cooked meals to cater to small parties, which as a hotel we had not been doing so far. So we are looking at those options where, everything is placed on your table and ready to eat. And we would have, a small team to serve you. Of course, many things would have to be done away with. But nevertheless, this is one option that comes to our mind. And yes, indeed, we will have to look at this for a little more time to come. And I would like to add the revenue part to it. See, the guest also is now understanding that, this is being done only for a very, very special number of people which he or she would invite. So for the hotels per se or for the caterers, as a matter of fact, the best thing that can be done is as Joydeep said, add up the hall charges. At the same time, we also need to envisage or inform the guests that we are actually putting in more and more of money into organizing the safety standards and protocols. I mean, we have been hearing there are a lot of firings happening, retrenchments happening. But in our case, the matter is that we have to increase the staffing somewhere or the other to make sure that the safety protocols are very well in place. And those are the costs which definitely have to be, at the end of the day, borne by the guest. So yes, for 50 people, if we can, look at the options coming in, these are the things which come to my mind so far.
Okay, great. So these were a few questions that we picked from chat. I would really like to thank everyone to participate and come here and join us for this webinar. So looking at all the ideas that all our panelists had to share, we can definitely say that as long as we stick together, claim that we are definitely all in this together from our vendor partner side and even our consumers, we're not looking at weddings being cancelled. Weddings will definitely stay. We are only looking at a shift in demand, maybe not currently, but eventually we will come back together and make sure that the same big fat Indian wedding, something that India is known for, is actually, back into business.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.